Do you want your money to work harder than where it's working currently? My name is Lawrence. I've got 10 years of investing experience here in the low income market in South Africa, and I can provide you returns of 15% plus. This is in my partnership program. This is where you bring the capital and I do everything else. I find the deal, negotiate a good offer, I view the property, I have my letting and operational team take over, I deal with the management, the evictions, and you get a good return on your money. Today we're here in the south of Johannesburg, one of my favorite areas to invest in, and we're going to go do an area drive-by to see which areas are good and bad to invest in, and also look at a couple of my past deals. So the Old South is particularly interesting because the purchase price is very low relative to what the rent is, meaning there's a good gross yield, and if you manage it well and you manage the OPEX costs well, you can be left with a good cash flow and with a good profitability. So we're going to drive through a couple of areas. I'll highlight some of the buildings that I've done in the past, some potentially hijacked buildings. We'll look at some areas to look at and some streets to avoid. And ultimately, you'll learn a little bit more about this market and hopefully be interested in learning more. Now we're going to go to the street with the most hijacked buildings in the whole of Rosettenville. So here's one of the more riskier streets. You can see that this building on the right has probably got a few delinquent tenants. This one looks okay. It's been on the market for probably about 2 years. They're asking too much. This is probably the only really good building on this street, West Bromley. I've seen the financials, it doesn't look bad. And then here is probably the most hijacked building in the whole of the South. It is 15 units. You're not getting in here. I've spoken to some of the landlords, they're willing to sell their units for 5,000 Rand. So, I mean, that kind of tells you how bad the state is. But yeah, no one here is paying. You know, there's probably a good 100, 150 people staying in here. It's very sad because there's children and there's a lot of vulnerable people that are in here. And there's probably slum landlords that are charging massive amounts of rent to these vulnerable people. That's the reality. If you've got a delinquent landlord that's not looking after the building and doing the right management practices, opportunistic criminals come in, they take over and they take advantage of the vulnerable. And this is my latest acquisition here on the left. This is a building called Moffat Court. Go check out the case study on YouTube if you haven't seen it already. This is a building of 9 units, fully occupied, no delinquent behavior. We've got great tenants, they pay on time, and this is a great investment. We bought this with private finance. Our investors are very happy. So this is an example of when you manage it well, when you buy in the right area, you manage it well, you can get a great return on your investment. And here we're at Rotunda Park. This is a very well-known park and used by the community. It's an awesome place. I like this area. You've got your jacarandas blooming, you've got families playing, and it's just a really nice area. And this park is very well maintained. And when the infrastructure is well maintained, you can get a good sense of the type of tenants that you'll attract. If you've got a good building in a good area where there's good maintenance from the city, and you make sure that the building's well maintained, you manage it well, you're going to get a good return on investment. Here is a building that I've got under offer. I'm just waiting on finance to be approved. This is a 6x3 bedroom sectional title. Very interesting because I can get 100% finance here, which I wouldn't be able to do on an unsectional title. The interesting story about this one is it was hijacked and then it burnt down, which is actually quite sad. But an investor came in, chased everybody away, fixed it up, and then sold it to me. So some investors do that, right? They come, they find distressed buildings, they flip them, and then they sell them. I like to do that. I like to find distress, but not necessarily to flip, but rather to, renovate and rent out and then refinance. So you've seen a couple of hijacked buildings, and I really don't want to scare you out of the market. I just wanted to show you that there is a risk of things not working out as they should. But the reality is that if you're a good landlord and you provide a good quality product and you do all the right management stuff, it is possible to get a good return and a safe investment. And to prove that, I wanted to show you some of my high performing buildings. So here we're on a street called Gulf Street. It's in Forest Hill, right next door to a school, which means we're attracting great quality tenants, families who are constantly looking for good, safe accommodation. So here on the right, we've got 2 buildings of 9 units each. There's safe, secure parking. The units are in good condition. We make sure that we've got prepaid meters and we've got good quality tenants. So these buildings are performing phenomenally well for us. Just around the corner here, we've got another 9 units. Again, same kind of structure, quality security, quality boundary, good parking spots, well renovated units. We stay on top of our tenants. We make sure to manage and vet them appropriately. So when you've got in the right area, the right building with the right team, that's when you start getting the good returns. Where I see people making mistakes is where they try to self-manage, they don't know what they're doing, so they buy in the wrong street, the wrong area, or they try and get greedy and they don't maintain the property properly. Now here on the left-hand side, this is one of my first blocks of flats. This is called Centurion Place, and it's probably my favorite investment. Go check out the case study that I have on YouTube. It goes into the detail. But this building, I think we've had it for like 5 years. I've never had delinquent behavior. This building doesn't need maintenance, doesn't need anything. It is clean, it is safe. And every month, like clockwork, we get paid. It's such a lovely building. So it's about finding that gem. It's about knowing the area, finding the right deal, doing the right level of negotiation, and then putting in the right team to manage it effectively. So in summary, risk and reward are two sides of the same coin. You're not going to get a good return if you're not taking some level of risk. Now you can mitigate that risk by getting some education, getting coached by an experienced mentor, or to partner with someone who's got experience in the field. Hope you enjoyed this content. Give it a thumbs up and don't forget to share. If you like this partnership program and you want to know more, click the link below. I'm happy to have a quick call with you to see if this meets your requirements. Until next time, happy investing.